Hi there, welcome to the latest episode of my 10-minute moan. The topic of this 10-minute moan is the election. And what are the SNP going to do now? Because we've already heard the two previous First Ministers and leaders of the Scottish National Party come out with their very different ideas of why we should have a de facto referendum at the next Westminster election. And the first one to come up with some nonsense was Nicole Sturgeon, when she failed in a bid at the highest courts in the land to get Westminster to accept her nonsense version of the will of the Scottish people. Now, she came out of the court and she declared that the next Westminster election would be a de facto referendum. This was the first time we ever heard of it. And her vision of a de facto referendum was declared as if the SNP should receive more than 50% of the votes, 50% plus one of the votes cast in Westminster from Scottish constituencies, that would be given the will of the Scottish people the right to have a referendum. Then she went away and done her sums and realised that they'd never received over 50% of the vote at a Westminster election, despite having the vast majority of the seats in the most recent elections of Westminster. So then came Humza Yousaf, and he changed the rules because he recognised that that was a bit of a tough one. So when Humza came in, this de facto referendum suddenly became if we get the majority of the seats at the next Westminster election. Now that was pretty cute, because to get the majority of seats, which would be 30 seats, you could do that with about 30 to 40% of the vote. You didn't need anywhere near 50%. Depending on where the votes were cast, you could probably get 30 of the seats, which would give you his version of a victory at the de facto referendum. So that's the last we heard about a Scottish First Minister and their loopy ideas on what would, be declared a victory for a second referendum at the Westminster elections. Both cuckoo, right? One of them put a target that was never going to be achieved, that was Nicola, and the other one put a target that even if it was achieved, who would actually agree with him that that was the will of the Scottish people dictating that we should have a referendum when it could be achieved by less than half of the electorate voting for it. So both of them, cuckoo, absolutely bonkers. But we've now got Honest John. So what's Honest John going to declare now that we know that the Westminster election is going to be on the 4th of July? What's he going to say? Now, he's already came out with some nonsense. Right? This is proper SNP mental gymnastics, right? He's declared that by even putting the election on the 4th of July is an affront to the good people of Scotland, because it'll be a week into the school holidays. Right? Okay. Totally oblivious to the fact that his party probably benefit more from postal voting than anybody else. Postal voting is an option open to anybody on a general election for Westminster. So this affront, right? Another thing is there's a time limit that you must give to call an election. So it couldn't be any earlier. So he's proper crackers, he just can't stop looking for things that are anti-Scottish and calling that even the date of the referendum. I mean, that's terrible. Our rains will be off the school. Will they? Aye, right? Because I don't know. I actually don't. I'll need to double check it, because that's what he said. I've not actually checked if he's actually factually true or not. But I thought the hot schools broke up a wee bit after that. But it might be right. It might be as early as the 4th of July, right? And anyway, that's where we're at. So, what's Honest John going to do now? Because all these independent loving cult that still vote for the SNP, they'll be wondering, what's happened to our de facto referendum now? What's the rules? Are we just going to accept? We can't accept Nicola Sturgeon's version, because that was never going to happen, 50% of the vote. And then Humza put the target at 30. In the recent polls, I was hoping beyond my dreams at times, that we could get them down to 20 to 25 seats at an election at Westminster. But the latest polls, some of them are showing figures under 20, right? But Crackers Humza, he's shouted 30. That'll give us a mandate for another referendum, is how they put it. Crackpots, these people, absolute bonkers. So what does Honest John do? Does he bin this de facto referendum idea at the next election at Westminster? Or does he come up with his own version of it? And another thing that I need to laugh with Honest John is the claim that to rid the Tories, as the Westminster of the Tories, you need to vote SNP. Aye. Every Scottish constituency could return an SNP MP and it still wouldn't stop it benefit at all the Tories, getting rid of the Tories, because Labour across the rest of the UK would probably outstrip them. And I think it would be, do you know what would be hilarious, right? If, and I don't think this will happen, right, but it would be as funny as hell. Imagine if the Tories, for some mad way, and I'm not that bothered, right? I'm not hoping Tory win Westminster election or Labour win. I genuinely couldn't care, right? But I just want the SNP not to get anywhere near the 30 seats. But imagine this scenario. Imagine Labour got 24 seats less than the Tories at the general election. I don't think it could be that tight. I think Labour will win it by landslide. But let's just hear me out there. And SNP had won 25 seats. They could actually keep the Tories in. That is a possibility. But Honest John, like that, the only way to get the Tories out of Westminster's voting SNP. Absolute bollocks, mate. You just talk absolute shite, because you could take all the, is it 59 seats, Scottish seats, and actually help the Tories get in. That's possible, but no you're reckoning, because you're a crackpot as well, right? We've established that already. We established that before you even get into your seat, with all your loony stuff that you put in to schools when you were the education minister. You must have serious issues here, or you wouldn't have done those things, right? So we're no suddenly realise that you're bonkers, right? We sort of had that decision made well before you became the First Minister. You just concreted it. But I'm desperate to see. Wait a minute. It's Wednesday. First Minister's questions tomorrow. I'll be really disappointed if Douglas Ross or Anas Sarwar or Alex Cole-Hamilton don't ask him. Right, mate, you, all day. Right, what's your rules for a de facto referendum, right? Gives a laugh. Is it 50% of the vote? Is it 50% of the seats? Or is it just whatever result we get? Where are you going with this, John? Right? And just put them right in the crosshairs for day one. Don't give him time to think about it. Tomorrow, First Minister's questions. Hold after. Where are you going with the de facto referendum, my man? Are we binning it? Or are we going to come up with a new stupid idea of what should determine the, what is it you keep calling it? The democratic right of the Scottish people. I actually will be disappointed. See, that's the only thing, right? That I don't know if I would enjoy being an MSP, right? But I certainly would enjoy it when you get the microphone and you could just go, oh, stupid. I ain't a politician, I'm just a geezer, right? Just a normal part of working class Scotland. Could you do me a big favour? Could you sit down and stop talking shite, right? That's how I deal with them. I genuinely have no time for them. And I despise all the SNP ones, right? And there's ones in all the other parties that I think, nah, you're no for me, right? But every one of the SNP, even Katie Forbes, that I had a wee bit of respect for a while, I would still give her a hard time, right? It'd be like, no wearing it, you're talking nonsense, sit down and shut up. Just stop talking absolute guff. I would love that, just for a day, right? I wish you could we should give one seat, right, in Holyrood just for a normal punter, right? And you just get to go in for one day and be an MSP. So we could have 365, well, they only meet twice a week, don't they? So 3 days, 150, 5 years. What's that? About 700 people in Scotland could get a shot of being an MSP for a day, right? I'd love it when it was my shot, right? Because see that presiding officer, they would just be like that, Mr. Houston, Mr. Houston, may I remind you where you are? No, hen, I know exactly where I am. Can you stop talking shite as well? Thank you very much. Right, I'd get flung out, it'd be a laugh. Anyway, that's us. If you enjoyed the video, give me a thumbs up. If you've not already done so, please consider subscribing. And unless you're John Swinney, or the cuckoo mob up in Holyrood representing the Scottish National Party, everybody else, have a great day. Cheery bye now.